Hi everybody, in today's video I'm going to be showing you how I created one of the looks for my photo shoots using the Makeup Forever Flash palette. I'm going to pull up the photo for you so you can see the look that I'm referring to. For this shoot I created this kind of pink, blue, purpley, really bright smoky eye using two colors from the Flash palette. I used the Fuchsia and the Ultramarine Blue. So you'll get to see my technique when working with the Flash palette, how I apply the colors, how I blend them, how I set them, and of course I'll walk you through the entire makeup look. Now, a few things I wanted to mention to you about the Flash palette. I'm going to swatch the two colors that I used in this video so I can just give you a little bit more information about it before we start. So I used the pink and the blue. I use the Flash palette for so many different things in my kit. For the look that I'm going to be showing you today, the concept of the shoot was to have something really bright and dynamic and have a couple colors on the lid. So here's a swatch of the two colors that I used, and I'm just going to show you so you can get an idea of the texture. This is just a very tiny amount. This stuff is extremely pigmented. It's very easy to work with. And when you apply it on the skin, you need just the tiniest amount. I would caution everybody, if you are planning on working with these, you just need the tiniest amount. So start slow with this product and then build it up. And because it is more of a waxier based product, you can blend the colors so easily. And that's partly what you're gonna see today in the video, how I created that really gorgeous blend on the eyelid. It starts with the Makeup Forever Flash palette. To get long wear out of it, it is something that you're gonna wanna set on the skin. But when you use the Flash palette, it totally depends on the finish that you want. If you're doing a beauty shoot and you want everything to look creamy on the skin or on the eyes and you wanna use a bright color, you may not wanna powder it, but it will require a little bit of maintenance if that is the case. For this look, you'll see me layer eyeshadow, which is the same color as the colors that I used in the Flash palette, over the Flash colors, and that's how I set the look. And when you do it in this way, it's a look that is obviously gonna last a little bit longer. I've used the Flash palette for so many different things, for color correction, for creating bright looks on the face. I've also used the black and brown from the Flash palette to create a really quick smoky eye. If I wanna get something dark quickly, the Flash palette comes in handy for that. And the Flash palette will show up on all skin tones. So this is why you see so many artists with this palette in their kits. It's very versatile, very multi-purpose, and you can pretty much make any color in the rainbow with this palette. Even on my fingers, the blend is amazing. These palettes are so fun to play with. And if you're somebody that is new to makeup artistry and you're a little bit intimidated by this palette, don't be. It's a really fun way to experiment and work with color. You can practice your color theory, you can mix colors, you can create new colors all on your own with this palette. So it is a great product to add to your kit. One other thing that I wanted to mention that you're gonna see in this video, my model showed up to the shoot with a very small patch of dry skin, kind of eczema-like, just on the lower corner of her lip. I get eczema on my face all the time, so I know how uncomfortable this can be. When you have clients or models or talent that show up on set with something on their skin that is out of the ordinary, this is when I go into more hyper hygiene mode, and there's a number of reasons why you want to do this. Today you're going to see me only use disposable products in that area. You have to be careful with these things. Obviously the top concern is that you don't want to have whatever is on your talent's face sort of infect and contaminate your kit. So that's the first reason why you want to go into hyper hygiene mode and only use disposables. Secondly, you also want to think about the safety and comfort of your client. You could have something in your kit that could cause an infection on their face. Your application technique might hurt them in a way. It might irritate that area of dry skin. Whatever it is, you don't want to cause your client any pain or discomfort with your makeup application, and you also don't want to make things worse. Anybody who's watching that suffers from eczema or psoriasis, especially on their face, you know that the buffing action of brushes is very uncomfortable. Just sometimes anything touching that area can be really, uncomfortable to sit through. So using a really soft sponge or a damp sponge that you can dispose of makes things easier for your client. It ensures that you're not spreading anything on the client's face, because you can spread things around the face. You're not contaminating your own kit with whatever they have on their skin. The other thing you have to keep in mind is that sometimes what people tell you it is might not be what it actually is. I've had so many people tell me that cold sores on their face are just a a pimple and things like that. And you know, people have stuff that they're dealing with, whether it's cold sores, whether it's psoriasis, whether it's eczema, and whatever they tell you is what they tell you. But when you do see something out of the ordinary on the skin, just go into hyper hygiene mode. Obviously no double dipping, make sure everything is single use and you're working off a stainless steel palette. And I'll talk you through some of that when we get to that point of the application in the video. This goes for makeup application and for skincare as well, so you will also see that in this video. I think that's it for now. Let's get started with the makeup application. Let's take a look at Grace's before photo. Now, Grace has really great features to work with, and I think she's gonna be perfect for me to recreate this look on. Her skin is flawless. It is quite dry, so you will see me apply a thicker layer of the Embryolisse LCC. If you do have a model that shows up in your chair and has really, really dry skin, especially if you are living in a cold climate and you have the time, someone like Grace would be a great candidate to do a moisture mask and leave that on for 5 to 10 minutes before you start. But if you don't have the time, something like the Embryolisse applied a little bit heavier will do the trick underneath the makeup. I'm going to be using a little bit of concealer just under the eyes, and I'm going to use the MAC Face and Body for this look because I do want her skin to breathe and have a really nice luminous finish on camera. If we take a look at Grace's eyes, they are more deep set, so when I am applying that bright color, I'm gonna have to remind myself to bring the color up closer to the brow. So if we are on set, if we are shooting this look, if there are any photos where she's looking directly to camera, you're going to be able to see the colors on her lid. Looking at Grace's skin tone, you can see her shoulders and face are darker than that center portion of her neck, so I need to take this into consideration when I'm doing my foundation application. With beauty shoots, it's not only the face that is the focus, so you do need to remember to make sure you're paying attention to the skin tone on the shoulders and on the neck as well, and everything should be blended. Starting with skin prep, I'm applying the Embryolisse with a sponge. I am using the sponge to apply a thin layer of product across the surface of the skin. I'm treating this Embryolisse sort of like a moisture mask. I will leave this on for a couple of minutes before I start my makeup application. In Grace's case, her skin absorbed all of the Embryolisse, so I didn't need to remove any excess. And with the sponge, I can just press on a little bit of moisturizer on that dry patch of skin by her lip and then throw the sponge in the garbage. Moving on to the under eye area, I'm using the Embryolisse Soothing Eye Contour Cream. It's really hydrating but doesn't leave a lot of oily residue on the skin, so it's great for a dry skin. Moving on to foundation, I'm using MAC Face and Body. I just need a little bit of coverage. I need a really dewy, luminous finish on this one, and this is when I normally like to choose Face and Body. And you can see I apply this foundation with a pulling motion across the forehead and on the eyelids. That pulling motion is the best way to get the face and body to stick to the skin. I'm gonna tightline now, and I do normally tightline when I'm doing these more dramatic looks before I move on to actually applying anything on the lid. It just gives my models a chance to kind of recover. Some models get very teary eyes when you do this. Obviously, it's not the most comfortable thing to have someone tightline with a brush like this. The gel is a great product to use because you're not kind of raking a pencil across their waterline. So if they are sensitive, this might be more comfortable. So I can give them a couple minutes to recover and let their eyes water before I start the eye makeup application. Now is the fun part where I get to play with color. I'm doing a little bit of mixing on my stainless steel palette, and then I will apply it onto the lid. And you'll see me go back and forth. I'll dip into the flash colors and then go on to the eyelid depending on what color I want where on the lid. It's very pigmented. You don't need much. I just press it into the eyelid with my brush and then I blend it out. So you kind of have to go slow with this until you figure out how to work with the flash color. Now I'm taking a smaller brush and I'm using the Smith 253 to kind of blend out the flash color on the lid. I do want to have this really seamless, soft blend. I don't want any hard edges. So with the Makeup Forever Flash palette, all of the colors in the Flash palette are obviously very blendable and very easy to work with. So you do want to make sure to take the time to blend so you can get a seamless finish when your models are photographed. Now I'm taking some blue and I'm applying it with that smaller brush right at the base of the lash line and then mixing, of course, the pink and blue together is what is going to give you that purple color, and I want the color to get darker the closer to the lash line it gets. Now I'm using some Bioderma on a cotton pad just to clean up that outer corner and get that nice cat eye. Moving on to brows. So Grace has a fuller brow, and with somebody with fuller brows, you do have to be careful when you are filling them in so that you don't overfill. Then I'm applying my brow primer, and then I'm gonna go in with an angled brush and the Anastasia Brow Powder Duo. This is the most natural way for me to fill in the brows. I'm using medium brown, and I will use both colors in that medium brown shade, and I will alternate them, fill in with the light first, then I'll go in with the darker shade in the medium brown, and I will just take my time to fill in the brows to make sure I am not overfilling and that it does look natural. And I will apply a little bit of product, I will brush through, I will step back, take a look at the brow, and then I will fill in with powder only where it's necessary. Moving back to the eyes, sometimes I like to do the brow and have that finished before I finish with my eye makeup look. I'm just softening anything that has creased on the eye because I haven't set the flash color yet. And then I'm setting the flash color with a shadow from the Sephora Pro Editorial palette. I'm using a beautiful bright pink from this palette. The colors in this palette are so amazing. And I'm also blending in some purples. And then in just a little bit, you'll see me pick up some blue from that palette and use that at the base of the lashes. So I'm just creating this kind of smoldery blue purpley look, and I'm using the shadow in this case to set the flash colors on her eyelids so that they don't move throughout the shoot. A lot of back and forth. I'm going in with a smaller brush now to make sure I can get that nice blend right at the lash line, and I can create that sort of cat eye shape. I don't want that bluey purpley color to come too high on the lid. I do want that pink to show. And then I'm just going back and forth between my MAC brush and the Stilazzi brush to blend everything out. Now I'm gonna move on to the second brow. I think this is a better angle for you to see me fill in her brows. So I make sure that that brow primer really gets in there, and then I brush it through. With thicker brows like this, it is really important to continue to brush through the brows so that all the hairs are kind of in line, and it makes it easier for you to go in and fill in with a pencil or a powder or whatever you're going to be using on your model. And then you can also get a nice idea of their natural shape so you're not overfilling in the brow. I'm really just looking for tiny bald spots in the brow, little gaps in the hairs, and then I'll use that angle brush to fill in with a powder. And this to me is the most natural look, and because the eye makeup look is so dramatic, I would prefer her brows look more natural and defined, and I don't want them to fully take over the eye makeup look. I do want the flash colors to be able to show on the lid, and I want that to be the focus and not necessarily have the brows overpower and take over the whole makeup look. I'm gonna do something differently in this video for you. I'm speeding up the clip so you can see the full application. You can let me know if this is helpful for you. Because there are so many textures and there is a lot of blending that goes into creating a look like this, I wanted to be able to show you the full application without editing anything out. What I want you to see here is how much product I'm using, how the flash color looks when it's applied onto the skin, how I build the look, how I blend and shape the eye makeup look. So this is all what goes into working with a product like this. I'm using the Bioderma to kind of just shape the underside of the outside of that cat eye to make sure that the product doesn't blend down onto the face. I'm going to go back and forth between each eye to make sure that everything is symmetrical and is the same shape, and then I will slowly build the eyeshadow up over the flash color as a base. And this is how you get that really vibrant look, and this is also how you get it to look seamless on camera. So I'm really taking a lot of time to blend. I use the brush to blend, I'll use my fingers to blend, and then I also blend the colors on the lid. So that pink and that blue together on the lid to make that purple color, and then I'll press on shadow to set the flash color and to also intensify the color on the lid. I'm also going back to the other side as well. This is just for symmetry. Sometimes when you start an eye makeup look, when you move to the other eye, you may have done something a little bit differently on that other eye, and you do want to make sure that the eye makeup look is balanced. So I go back and forth. What I'm doing here is just pressing in the product, blending that shadow, and then I'll step back and make sure everything's symmetrical, make sure the shape is even on both sides. And then I just do that until I'm happy with the final look, and I think everything is blended and looks smooth on the skin. I'm using the Smith 122 to blend out the edges of this look, and this tool is really handy when working with eyeshadows or cream products. Now I'm going back in with that smaller MAC 221 brush just to make sure that everything is even. You do have to, if you are layering shadows over the flash color, you do have to make sure to press in the color, and I've repeated myself a couple times on this because it is important. That's what's going to give you that bright opaque color. And then back again with the Bioderma on a cotton pad to just ensure that the under eye is nice and clean. The flash color can travel if it's not set on the skin, so you may find you get a little product under the eyes. And now I'm finishing up the foundation application. I'm using the MAC Face and Body, and as I mentioned in this video already, it's important to kind of pull the foundation when you are applying it on the skin. So you can do this with your finger or brush. Applying that friction to the MAC Face and Body is what gets it to really stick to the skin. Moving on to concealer. So Grace's skin tone is somewhere between neutral and a little bit more yellow. So I'm using a neutral concealer under the eyes, and I'm getting that concealer by mixing a warm undertone concealer from MAC and a cool undertone concealer from MAC with a little bit of color corrector for the dark circles just on the inner corner of her eye. That mixture is giving me this nice neutral shade. I'm applying it with a Sephora brush. It's a smaller brush, a natural fiber brush. It's a nice way to apply concealer. And then I'm taking a little bit of concealer on a sponge just to cover up that dry patch on her lip, and then the sponge will go in the garbage. Setting the under eye concealer with some Laura Mercier loose translucent setting powder. Because I want the skin to look fresh, I'm only using setting powder where I need it. So I will go usually under the eyes, around the nose, and then just between the brows. And when you're working on set, you can look on camera and see what the skin looks like, and you can apply more powder if you think it's necessary. I'm using a brush that I actually picked up from an art supply store, which is one of my favorite brushes to use. And I'm just now going under the eye with the tiniest amount of the flash color to make sure I can bring that pink around. And then I'm using the MAC 239 brush to set the flash color cream with some shadow. So I'm taking that pink shadow from the Sephora Pro Editorial palette and just laying it down over the flash color under the eye. And then the Smith 220 brush is perfect for cleaning up eye makeup looks, and that's what I'm doing here. I'm just softening the edges of my eye makeup look. I do want to intensify this look even more, so I'm going to use the Nude Sticks Magnetic Matte Eye Color. This is a really beautiful product. It's very creamy, so I'm applying it with an angled brush, and then I'm blending it in with a smaller, fluffier brush, just to keep that soft look. I don't think a liquid liner would pair well with this look, so I do want everything to be soft and blended. That, to me, in my opinion, is what's going to look best here, but you can experiment and play with color, and if you feel like you want to do a liquid liner and that's something that's going to complement the look that you want, or it's going to look better on your model, you can definitely play with that. But for Grace, I think because she has a deeper set eye, just having that softer blend around the eyes is something that's going to be more complementary, and I think it will look really nice and harmonious on camera. You can see how well the Nude Sticks pencils blend on the skin. I don't have to really pull at the eye, and this is one of the reasons why I'm not using a gel eyeliner here. I just want something that's soft and easy to blend so that it doesn't damage or mess up the rest of the eye makeup application. These are my favorite tiny Muji cotton swabs, and I'm just cleaning up the inner corner of the eye. I'm just doing some finishing touches on this eye makeup look, so I'm using the Smith 212 brush and more of that Nude Sticks pencil just to ensure that that lower lash line is nice and dark. I know when I'm working on these beauty shoots how close the model is going to be shot, so I don't want there to be any gaps at all in the lash line, and I want everything to be dark. Now I'm going to blend the face and neck together and bring out the high points of the face, and this is a great way to add dimension. I'm using Face Atelier foundation in 0.5, which is actually more of a neutral undertone foundation, and I mentioned when I was applying concealer that Grace has a skin tone that is between neutral to more yellow undertone. So I am applying this just on the high points of the face to ensure that her face and neck look well blended and uniform on camera. I used the smaller setting brush to apply the Face Atelier, and now I'm just blending everything out with a Real Techniques contour brush. I sometimes go between smaller and larger brushes just to ensure that that blend is seamless on the skin. You can cover more surface area as well with a larger brush. Now I have to sculpt the face, and this is what is going to give me some great dimension on camera, especially if this look is shot and her face is kind of turned on an angle towards camera. Having something that is really flat is not going to photograph as interesting as having a face that is sculpted and contoured. So I'm using the RCMA cream contour here, applying it with that Smith brush and then blending it out with that Real Techniques brush, and I'll do this on the other side too. I also wanted to sculpt the face and create more dimension and definition because I'm not going to be using a blush. I didn't want anything to distract from the flash color on the eyes, so having a sculpted cheek, especially for a profile shot, is going to be really interesting and it's going to photograph very well. I'm going to continue defining the face with a little bit of that RCMA cream contour on my Real Techniques brush. I'm just using it off the back of my hand just to kind of etch out the forehead and the cheeks. And the fun part, of course, after you sculpt, you do need to highlight. I'm using the Benefit Watts Up highlighter. This highlighter reads so well on camera. It's so easy to apply. It lets the skin show on camera, which is another reason why I'm always using this highlighter. And it is really, really gorgeous on fair skin. And you can see how lovely it looks just under my really basic lighting on camera. And you can go as heavy as you want with highlighter. You can use a cream highlighter, a powder, whatever is going to work with the foundation that you've already applied. This goes on like a cream and dries like a powder, so it will work well over the face and body, which I haven't set with powder on the cheek area, so it will be very easy to apply and blend. Now setting the brow hairs into place using the Got2b spiking glue. Once the brows are in place with this product, it's very hard to move them around, and I use this off the back of my hand and brush it into the brows with a disposable lash wand. Voluminous Carbon Black mascara. With my beauty shoots, I do need to ensure that there are no gaps on the lash line, and I don't want to see the base of the lash. So I go in with one coat of the mascara on a spoolie, and then you will see me use in just a couple seconds the Delium. It's sort of like a tiny, tiny fan brush, and I'm using this fan brush to do the lower lash line, and then I will take the fan brush and press mascara into the upper lash line right where the lash meets the base of the eyelid. This look is going to be photographed very closely, so I need to make sure that that mascara goes right to the base of the lash. And using a fan brush like this one is the best technique that I have to ensure that the mascara gets all over the entire lash. My camera stopped recording and I wasn't able to get the lip application, but I just used Maybelline Romantic Rose Lipstick mixed with a clear glass. Let's take a look at Grace's before and after. This is exactly the makeup application, same technique, same shape, same everything that I did on that photo shoot. You can see using the face and body looks really natural on the skin. It gives the skin a nice healthy glow. Having that pop of highlighter on the cheeks is something that is a nice touch. Because there is no blush, having the highlighter just adds some interest. And of course, sculpting out the face is important so that when you are doing beauty look, no matter what angle you're shooting them at, there's something interesting on camera with the makeup. Here's a picture of Grace on the right and the picture from my actual photo shoot on the left. And you can see it really is all about that color on the eyes. The brows are not overly done, so they don't compete with the eye makeup look. The cheek is sculpted, the skin is highlighted. So this is something that you can make note of. You can see what works on the model that you're gonna be working on. You can experiment with color. You can add more highlighter if you want. If you wanted to add a cheek color, you can do that. It's really all about just playing around and experimenting, playing with color, and seeing what looks great on camera. So if you have any questions about this look, or you have more questions about the Makeup Forever Flash palette, you can put them in the comments, and I will see you on the next video. Bye everyone.